when plants take up water, along with that certain mineral ions also enter into the plant. That is, will they enter through the leaves? No. So these mineral ions are present in the soil as charged particles, and therefore they cannot move across the cell membrane very easily. So here what happens? Water has to enter into the plasma membrane by a process called as osmosis. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to another session on chapter 11, that is transport in plants. I'm Dr. Divya, biology faculty, Vidyashram Pre-University College, Mysore, Temple of Excellence. So in the previous session of this chapter, we had discussed about transpiration. So transpiration is nothing but the loss of water in the form of vapor from the green parts of the plants, that is especially the leaves. And whenever transpiration occurs, a pressure gradient is being created which helps the roots to absorb water from the soil. And this pressure or transpiration is because of the properties of water such as cohesion, adhesion and the surface tension of water. We had studied about all this in the previous session, and also we studied how exactly the water travels between the mesophyll cells of the leaves and they evaporate towards the external environment through the stomata. So that process also we had studied. In today's session, we shall study about the translocation, and that is the transport and translocation or the uptake of mineral ions by the roots of the plant and its distribution to other parts of the plant body. Because we know that in the soil, it is not just the water that is present. Along with water, there are certain mineral ions which are minerals, especially which are minerals and nutrients that are present in the soil, which also travels from the root to different parts of the plant body. So we shall concentrate on that today, that is the uptake of mineral ions by the roots and therefore transport of it into different parts of the plant body. So to begin with the session, we shall study about the uptake and the transport of mineral nutrients. So we all know that plants, they get carbon dioxide as well as oxygen and from the atmosphere, right? And the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen, or the entry of the carbon dioxide as well as the oxygen, is through the stomata opening or the stomatal aperture. We studied about it. So we know that carbon, and that is plants, they obtain their carbon source and most of their oxygen from carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So is carbon as well as oxygen alone enough for the plant? Of course, they are enough for the respiratory process and for the photosynthesis process. But how will the plants grow properly? Apart from this autotrophic response of the plant, that is by photosynthesis, plants also need minerals, right? So from where do they get the minerals? However, their remaining nutritional requirements are obtained from water and minerals that are present in the soil. So when plants take up water, along with that certain mineral ions also enter into the plant. That is, will they enter through the leaves? No. They need to enter the plants through the roots. So we need to remember that carbon source is got to the plants from carbon dioxide and oxygen is got from oxygen uptake, that is the entry of oxygen from the atmosphere into the leaves of the plant through the stomata. But the other things such as the mineral contents and the water enters into the plant through the root. So we know about that now. So next, talking about the water and the minerals, their movement into the plant. So water and minerals. So unlike water, all minerals cannot be passively absorbed by the roots. So water, the movement of water molecules is a passive process, right? So what is passive? It is nothing but the diffusion. So what is diffusion? Diffusion is nothing but in the starting of this chapter, the sessions, that is the starting sessions, we had learnt about this, wherein diffusion is nothing but diffusion is a kind of a passive absorption, right? So why is it a passive movement? Because it doesn't require energy. In the case of diffusion, the water molecules, they move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, and hence there is no need for the energy to be utilized there. There is no need for energy. Only energy is required during active transportation when the molecules are moving from a region of lower concentration to that of the higher concentration. So water can easily absorbed by the roots of the plants from the soil by a passive transport mechanism, wherein they do not make use of any energy because they are moving from a region of higher concentration. Where is the concentration of water more? In the soil. So from the soil they are moving into the root cells, wherein they are entering into the epidermal cells of the root and then into the cytoplasm through a process of passive transport wherein energy is not required. So that is why they are passively absorbed by the roots. So minerals, few of the minerals can be passively absorbed by the roots, but few of the minerals cannot be passively absorbed by the roots. So two important factors are there why minerals cannot be passively absorbed. So we shall see what are the two important factors why roots cannot absorb minerals from the soil unlike water without the expenditure of energy. They always, most of the time, they require energy if they have to absorb minerals from the soil. So what is the reason behind it, or what are the factors behind it? So one is, minerals are present in the soil as charged particles. So we know that mineral ions, they are charged, right? They are present as charged particles in the soil. So these mineral ions are present in the soil as charged particles, and therefore they cannot move across the cell membrane very easily. We all know that cell membranes or the plasma membrane are selectively permeable, right? They will not allow all the components apart from water. They will not allow in other components to enter into them very easily. They are very selectively permeable. So therefore, since water molecules can move through the cell membrane very easily, they do not require any amount of energy. That is, it is a passive transport. But mineral ions, as they possess some charges, they are charged particles and they are present in the soil. Therefore, if the roots has to absorb these charged particles from the soil, they need certain amount of energy. That is why minerals present in the soil, since they are in the form of charged particles or ions, they cannot move across the cell membrane very easily. That is one factor why passive transport will not help in the case of root when they absorb minerals from the soil. Next is the concentration of minerals. So when we compare the amount of minerals that is present in the soil with that of the root, the amount of minerals in the soil is very less, and the amount of minerals in the root is more when compared to that of the soil. Therefore, what is happening here? The minerals are moving from a region of lower concentration. Which is a region of lower concentration here? It is the soil. Because what did I tell you? In soil, mineral ions are less, and in root, mineral ions are more. So therefore, the mineral ions will be moving from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration into the root, right? So therefore, it cannot move passively, because we all know that the movement of any molecule from a region of lower concentration to that of the higher concentration requires a lot of energy. Therefore, it is an active transport, right? So the concentration of minerals in the soil is lower when compared to that of the concentration of minerals in the root. So therefore, when they are moving from a region of lower concentration, that is in the soil, to a region of higher concentration, that is into the root, they require some amount of energy. Therefore, passive transport will not play a role here. It is an active transport. So, these are the two reasons why mineral ions, like water, mineral ions cannot move passively. They have to move into the roots actively. So now we have understood the two important reasons why passive transport does not play a role in the case of few of the mineral ions. And therefore, most of the minerals that enter into the root, they are active absorption. So what happens here? Minerals which are present in the soil in lower concentration, they enter into the root, they enter into the epidermal cells of the root, and through the epidermal cells of the root, they need to reach into the cytoplasm. So we have water and mineral ions. So water, it can be passively absorbed because the water concentration is more here when compared to that of the root, right? So here it is less, so it can be actively absorbed. Whereas mineral ions, the concentration is less in the outer soil and it is more inside the root. So they have to be actively absorbed. So once they enter into the root hair, they move into the epidermal cells of the root and they have to enter into the cytoplasm. And this requires a amount of energy, therefore it is an active transport. So therefore most minerals enter the root by active absorption into the cytoplasm of the epidermal cells. And when we talk about energy in the case of plants or be it in any of the living organisms, energy is usually supplied in the form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. So energy will be supplied in the form of adenosine triphosphate, that is ATP, and the active uptake of ions is partly responsible for the water potential gradient in roots. So, when ions are absorbed, a potential gradient is being created in the root, or a water potential gradient is being created in the root, and this water potential gradient or the pressure also helps in the uptake of water by osmosis. So, what is osmosis? Osmosis is nothing but the transport of molecules across a selectively permeable membrane. Here, what is a selectively permeable membrane? It is the plasma membrane or the cell membrane that is present in the root cells, right? So, root cells are covered by a selectively permeable membrane, which is plasma membrane. Therefore, if it has to pass through the plasma membrane, which is a selectively permeable membrane, then it has to be by osmosis. So, if the roots have to uptake water or take in water by osmosis from the soil, if it has to enter into the root by osmosis, why is it osmosis? Because it is passing through the plasma membrane. So, when minerals are taken in by the roots through the plasma membrane, the water also enters because of a pressure gradient being created, right? Can we separate the minerals and can we separate the water in the soil? It is not possible. So here what happens? Water has to enter into the plasma membrane by a process called as osmosis, because plasma membranes are selectively permeable. So they have to enter through a process of osmosis. And on the other hand, during the movement of water, some ions also move into the epidermal cells passively. So, some ions which are present in the water, they also move passively. So, therefore, minerals can move into the roots actively as well as passively. If they are moving individually as mineral ions, then they have to move actively. Why? Because the concentration of mineral ions in the soil is less, whereas the concentration of mineral ions in the root is more. But on the other hand, sometimes what happens, because of the movement of these mineral ions individually or separately, it creates a pressure gradient in the roots, which also leads to the absorption of water by osmosis. So now when water is entering into the root by osmosis, through a passive transport. Why is it a passive transport? Because water is entering here. Now I'm talking about water. When water is entering, the concentration of water is more in the soil when compared to that of the root. So therefore, when it is entering, what happens? It will become the movement of water from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration through osmosis. So at that time what happens, along with water, some specific mineral ions can also enter into the cytoplasm of the root epidermal cells passively, that is without the expedition of energy. That is why mineral ions can enter into the root actively as well as passively, depending on the kind of mineral ion that is present in the soil. So now we know about this. So next, talking about the ions, because I told you some mineral ions are absorbed from the soil both by passive and active transport. We came to know how is it so. So for this particular process for absorption of ions, there are certain specific proteins that are present, because we all know that not all particles can travel as such. Because if we talk about diffusion process, wherein the movement of water molecules is taking place from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, right? I'm talking about diffusion here. So in diffusion, you might have heard in the previous session about a term called as facilitated diffusion. So in facilitated diffusion, what happens? Water molecules can move freely. We came to know about that. Water molecules, if it has to enter from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, it does not require any energy and it does not require the help of any facilitator protein or a carrier protein. Without the help of the protein itself, it can travel into the root cells very easily. But if the water molecule contains ions, so here the movement of water molecules is passive. But if the water molecule is carrying some ions with it, then also the movement of water molecule will be passive. But here, such ions can only travel by a process, that is with the help of a carrier protein. So there are some specific proteins which are present in the plasma membrane or the cell membrane of the root cells, which continuously keeps actively pumping ions from the soil into the cytoplasm of the epidermal cells. It has to be a continuous process, because if you remember, I told you water, they have to be cohesive in nature, right? They have to move continuously, forming chains of molecules. Just like that, here also mineral ions, they have to keep actively moving from the soil into the cytoplasm of the root epidermal cells, right? So if that has to take place, there are some carrier proteins or facilitator proteins that are present in the cell membrane. We have studied in the previous session, wherein the cell membrane or the plasma membrane is made up of two lipid bilayers, and within the bilayer lipid molecule there are embedded some proteins, right, which are called as carrier proteins. What is the function of these proteins? So these proteins actually, which are present in the cell membrane of the root hair cells, their function is to actively carry the ions or pump the ions from the soil into the cytoplasm of the epidermal cells. And like when we come see all the cells, the endodermal cells, they have many such transport proteins that are embedded in their plasma membrane. So we knew about it. So we came to know that the cell membrane is made up of a lipid bilayer, right? So fluid mosaic model, remember the fluid mosaic model which you have studied in the cell organelles. So fluid mosaic models of plasma membrane or the lipid. So here what happens in this two layer of the lipid bilayer, there are present some carrier proteins which are embedded in between. And what is the function of the carrier proteins? To carry ions, right? Certain mineral ions, it will help to carry through that. It will facilitate the movement of ions into the epidermal cells of the root cells, right? Or the cytoplasm of the epidermal cells. So here there are numerous type of such proteins that are embedded or buried in the plasma membrane, and the function of these proteins is to let the solutes. Why am I using the term solutes now? Because I told you sometimes when water is entering into the root cells, ions are also being carried. So in the water, what is dissolved there? Mineral ions are being present. Now, is it Is the water pure? No, it contains mineral ions. It is a solute now. It is in the form of solute. So they let some solutes cross the membrane but not others. So they are again selectively permeable. They let only the solutes, that is the water having the mineral ions, to pass through, but other particles or other substances they will not allow to enter into the cell. So this is the function of the proteins that are present. So what is the function of the proteins that are present in the plasma membrane of the cell, or those which are embedded in the plasma membrane of the cell or between the two lipid bilayers? The main function is they help in the transport of mineral ions from the soil into the root hair cells, wherein in the root hair cells the epidermal cells of the cytoplasm receives the mineral ions through these proteins. And one more function is they are selective in nature. They only allow the transport of solutes, but they will not allow the transport of any other substances. And the transport proteins, so they are called as transport proteins or carrier proteins or facilitator proteins because they help in carrying something. In this case, they help in the movement of solutes. So they help in carrying of the ions that are dissolved, present in the water, right? So the transport proteins that are present in the endodermal cells, they are the control points. So they decide actually how much amount of ions or mineral ions has to enter into the plant cell, at what rate, at what quantity, all that will be decided, and they are the ones that actually adjust the quantity and the type of solutes that has to reach the xylem. So we all know that if you see the structure of the plant cell, what is it made up of? It is made up of one layer of epidermis, right? The outer layer of plant cell is the epidermis. Then comes the inner to the epidermis is present the cortex or the mesophyll cells, right? The mesophyll cells or the cortex, which is made up of parenchyma cells and all that. Inner to that is present one more membrane, which is endodermis. Endodermis. So here what happens, the minerals can enter till here. That is, here in the epidermis some carrier proteins will be present. These carrier proteins will decide which solute has to enter. It will enter till here, it will travel through the mesophyll cells, intercellular spaces, and then it will reach the endodermis. Because after the endodermis is the presence of the vascular bundles, right? So vascular bundles are present after the endodermis. That is, in the pith region, the vascular bundles are actually present soon after the endodermis. So once they enter here, it is the endodermis. So the endodermis will actually decide what type of solute should enter into the xylem and in what quantity they have to enter into the xylem. So that is the function. So these are the functions of the epidermis as well as the endodermis as well as the transport proteins. So there are some transport proteins that are also embedded in the, because it is also a endodermis, it is a lipid layer. So here also there are some transport proteins which will actually decide how much amount of ions has to enter into and what type of solutes or ions has to enter into the xylem. So this is how. Here also we can see the mineral ions, water and mineral ions being absorbed, and then they will be transported into the cytoplasm of the epidermis. Once they transport to the cytoplasm of the epidermis, then they have to enter into the mesophyll cells, and from the mesophyll cells they'll have to enter into the endodermis, wherein the endodermis will decide actually how much quantity of ions or the solutes has to travel into the xylem. So that will be decided by the proteins that are present in the endodermis. So now we have understood what is the function of the proteins that are present on the epidermis and what is the function of the proteins that are present in the endodermis. So now we have understood about so much. So next we shall see how the translocation of mineral ions occur. So we have studied so far how the mineral ions enter into the root cells. Now how will they translocation? So what is translocation? From one type of cell they need to enter into another type of cell. So that is translocation. How does this actually take place? We shall see. So translocation is generally considered in such a way that the xylem transports the inorganic nutrients. So there are certain inorganic nutrients as well as organic nutrients that are present in the soil, right? So here the xylem transport inorganic nutrients while the phloem transports organic nutrients. So xylem also plays a very important role here. The inorganic nutrients are transported by the xylem, whereas the organic nutrients, that is the food particles, will be transported by the phloem. So here what happens is the xylem sap. So what is the xylem sap made up of? They are made up of the mineral ions. What mineral ions? Those mineral ions that have entered into through the epidermis, endodermis. Through the epidermis, they have entered into the mesophyll cells, that is intercellular spaces of the mesophyll cells. Then they have reached the endodermis, and from the endodermis, they have entered into the xylem cells. So the xylem, now it contains a lot of mineral ions. So it is now a sap. So the xylem sap, in the xylem sap, there is presence of nitrogen, right? So nitrogen, it travels as inorganic ion. So what did I tell you? Xylem helps in the transport of inorganic nutrients. So nitrogen is one such inorganic nutrient that is present in the xylem sap. From where did the nitrogen come? It came from the soil, then into the root, and then to the xylem that is present in the pith of the root, right? So here the nitrogen, it actually travels as an inorganic ion, as well as it can also travel as an organic ion. So when it is in the inorganic form, it will travel through the xylem. When it is in the organic form, it will travel through the phloem. Why? Because inorganic constituents are carried by the xylem, or they are translocated or transported by the xylem, whereas organic components are translocated or transported by the phloem. So these nitrogens, whenever they form amino acids, they get transported through the phloem. So in the xylem sap, the nitrogen elements that are present, they can travel as inorganic ions, as well as they can travel as organic ions when the nitrogen gets converted into amino acids. So in the form of amino acids, the nitrogen can travel as organic components from the xylem. And also there are some other elements such as phosphorus and sulfur. So these small amounts of phosphorus, so P is nothing but phosphorus. So small amount of phosphorus and small amounts of sulfur, they are passed in the xylem as organic compounds. So always remember, organic compounds, the xylem can transport inorganic compounds as well as organic compounds. But first, what did we read? We read it as xylem transports only inorganic nutrients while phloem transports only organic nutrients, but it is always not true. The same is not exactly true. It was understood like that, but it is not true. Xylem can also transport organic compounds as well as inorganic compounds. The best example is nitrogen. So nitrogen is an inorganic compound which can be transported by xylem. But when nitrogen converts into an organic compound such as an amino acid, again xylem itself transports these nitrogen in the form of organic acids. And not just that, some small amounts of phosphorus and sulfur. So phosphorus and sulfur are also organic compounds and they are transported by the xylem. So therefore, xylem, they can transport or they can translocate both inorganic compounds as well as organic compounds. And there is also an exchange of material between the xylem and the phloem. So therefore, mineral elements, they pass to the xylem in both inorganic and organic forms. So exchange of materials take place between the xylem and the phloem, because I told you to some extent phloem also takes parts in the transport of the organic compound. So here what happens, because of the exchange of materials between the xylem and the phloem or the mineral elements that are there in the xylem, they can travel both in the inorganic and the organic form, which we have best example that I took was about nitrogen, right? So once what they do is, once they start traveling, they reach the area of their sink, namely the young leaves. So they reach their area of the sink. So what is this sink? Sink means it is a collection of something. So what is being collected there? Mineral ions are being collected. So which is the collection region? It is nothing but the young leaf. So always remember, the sink or the collection region in the plants are nothing but the apical meristem and the lateral meristem, because these apical meristem and the lateral meristem are the growing regions, right? They are the regions where the actual growth take place, because these, that is apical meristem. So we have a plant, say for example the root. I'll take the example of a root. So at the tip of the root, there is apical meristem. Even the tip of the stem, that is the shoot apex, is also the apical meristem. But here I will take the example of root. So root, here the apical meristems are there, those meristematic cells. So what are meristematic cells? They are the cells which are actively dividing. Because they are actively dividing, they are the ones that help in the growth of the plant. So these apical meristems are present at the tip of the root, and they are also present at the side of the root, that is lateral meristem. Why they are present at the side? Because for increase in size, right? So if you take the example of stem, the apical meristem is present at the tip of the stem. Because of the apical meristem present at the tip of the stem, flowering and all will take place, because actively dividing cells are present there. And not just that, the elongation of the stem will also occur. Next, talking about the apical meristem in the the lateral meristem. So lateral meristem present at the side of the stem. So at the side of the stem, they help in increasing the girth of the stem or the size of the stem, right? So here, because actively dividing cells are present there, more amount of nutrients are required in that particular region, right? So therefore, here they reach their area to their sink. So how do they translocate? First they enter. How do translocation actually takes place? First, the mineral ions enter into the xylem, right? That is, first they enter into the root hair. From the root hair, they reach, it is it can be either a passive transport or it can be an active transport, depending. And then they reach the epidermal cells, right? In the epidermal cells, they enter in, they pass through the selectively permeable membrane, that is the plasma membrane, wherein some carrier proteins or transport proteins help in the transport of these mineral ions, and then they enter into the cytoplasm of the epidermal cells. From the cytoplasm of the epidermal cells, they travel through the intercellular spaces of the mesophyll cells, that is the parenchyma cells present in the cortex, and then they enter into the endodermis. In the endodermis also there are some transport proteins which decide how much amount of ions or minerals or the solutes has to enter into the xylem, and then they enter into the xylem. From the xylem, they are transported as both organic and inorganic compounds, and then to where will they be transported? They will be transported to an area called as sink, and they will be located there. So sink, where and all it is present? It is present at the tip of the root, it is present at the tip of the stem, it is present at the lateral region of the root and the stem. So because why they travel there? Because their actively dividing cells called the meristems are being present. So they travel through the sink, that is namely the young leaves, the developing flowers, fruits, seeds, apical and lateral meristem, because all these are the growing regions. Young leaves, they have to mature. If they have to mature, if they have to increase in their size, increase in their surface area, they have to mature and all that, lot of nutrients is required. So young leaf is a sink. Then flowers. Flowers, they have to form small buds, they have to bloom and they have to mature, all that. Lot of nutrients are required. So so flower is one sink. Next is fruits. Fruits also, fruits have to form, seeds have to set, they have to mature, they have to ripen, they have all that. They also require a lot of nutrients. Therefore, fruit is also a sink. Like that, seed is also a sink. So these are all the sinks. So they travel from the soil, they have traveled through the root and they have reached the lateral meristems, the apical meristem, and the fruit, the flower, the seeds, all that they have reached. Now they are the sink. Why? Because minerals are being stored in them. So they reach the area of their sink and individual cells for storage. So these are the individual cells for the storage of the mineral ions. And minerals are then, after that, the minerals are unloaded at fine vein endings through a process called diffusion. Why diffusion occurs here? Again here the minerals will get unloaded to fine root endings that are present in all these regions of the leaf. Why there? Because now the minerals have to unload. They are unloading from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Therefore, the process is diffusion here. And here no cell membrane are being involved. That is why it is diffusion. It is not osmosis. Don't get confused. It is diffusion process. And they are picked up by the cells through active uptake. So here active uptake of mineral ions will occur. That is in the sink. Once they get loaded in the sink, then they will be loaded into individual cells through because each cell has to receive the mineral. They will be loaded, that is unloaded into the individual cells through the veins, that is fine vein endings, by a process called diffusion. And then the cells pick up these mineral ions, or the mineral ions enter into each individual cells by a active uptake. So what is active uptake? Again here from a region of higher concentration, they move into a region of the lower concentration, which is a continuous process. It is an active process. So that is what actually happens, like how they get translocated. And we should remember that there is remobilization of minerals from older senescing parts. So what are senescing? Remobilization means minerals have entered in, say for example, I'll take the example of leaves. Once the minerals has entered into the leaves, they can reload, that is they can unload themselves from the leaf cells and move into the newly formed cells. So what happens here is, sometimes it is just like, imagine there are two people eating, one, that is person A and person B. Person A actually eats very less. Person B eats double the amount than what person A eats. So what person A will do, for both of them, equal amount of food is being provided. But what person A will do, person A will actually give half the amount of his food to person B. Why? Because person B requires more amount of food than person A. So just like that, here what happens here, sometimes older leaves, they do not need much of the nutrients. Why? Because they would have already attained maturity and they are about to fall off from the plant. So senescence means they have become old and they are about to fall off from the plant. So why should they waste the minerals? So that is why what the older cells that are present in the older leaves will do is, whatever minerals they have, they translocate it into the younger leaves, so that the younger leaves will get enough amount of nutrients in order to mature. So therefore, sometimes remobilization of minerals will occur. So remobilization means the removement. They are moving from one place to another. The movement took place to one leaf. So first what happens? So I'll just draw and show it. So here there are two leaves. So here one older leaf, the older leaf would have received all the minerals and now all the minerals in the older leaf is there. So once the minerals are traveling, they move to the first leaves that are there and then they will move into the younger leaves. So what happens here is, the older leaves do not need any minerals now, because they're already mature. The cells have already matured in the older leaves and the older leaves are about to fall off from the plant. So what happens, from this particular position, the minerals will travel back and it will enter into the younger leaves. Remobilization will take place. So there is remobilization of minerals from older senescing parts, and in this remobilization nickel actually plays a very important role. Nickel is one such mineral component that easily travels from the older senescing leaves into the younger leaves, and the senescing leaves actually send out many minerals apart from nickel. They also help in the remobilization of nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus and potassium, and there are certain elements which forms the structural components of the cell such as calcium and all that, but they will not get remobilized. So minerals such as nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, potassium, all these get remobilized with the help of nickel, whereas the minerals which forms the structural component of the plant such as calcium, they will not get remobilized. So that is why calcium has to be added to the plants now and then, but whereas other components not necessarily, every now and then it is not needed. The remobilized minerals, then they become available to the young leaves, growing leaves and other sinks. So now the sink has changed. First the sink was older leaf. From this sink it has moved to the one more sink, that is the younger leaf. So that is how translocation occurs. Not just translocation occurs from the xylem into the other cells of the plant, that is other cells such as the meristematic cells, which are the developing young leaves, the shoot buds and all that, but also they can also translocate from the older leaf to the younger leaf. Now the sink is changing. So now we have understood about this. So this is how translocation can also occur. So I hope you understood the session wherein we discussed about the uptake of mineral ions and nutrients, wherein we came to know that the xylem actually transport, or the plants take in minerals by both active and passive transport as well. And also we came to know how the minerals travel from the soil into the roots and then into the xylem and then to different parts of the plant body. And also we came to know that how translocation of minerals occur, wherein in translocation sometimes remobilization of the minerals also occur from the older leaves to the younger leaves. So we studied so much in today's session. So I hope you understood the session well. In the coming session, we shall discuss about phloem, how phloem helps in the transport of mineral ions from source to sink. Because I told you sometimes there is exchange of mineral ions between the phloem and the xylem, right? So whatever has entered into the phloem, how will it travel from the source to the sink? We shall study in the coming session. And also we shall study about the mass flow hypothesis in the coming session. So we shall meet again in the coming session. Thank you.